Hello. In this video, I will do TSI Math Exam 4, and then this will be part 1. So let's split this into 2 parts, but this will be part 1. Okay, so TSI Math Exam 4. Let's begin. Okay, question 1 is a word problem. It says you land a job that pays $15 an hour, and your bank offers you a saving account that pays 0.045% annual interest. If you put 10,000 in your saving accounts, how many hours would you need to work to earn the same amount of interest that you gained after 5 years? Okay, so how many hours? So what I would do is figure out which formula you're going to use. You look at my notes. We're going to use like on top of my head, I could see we're doing that. Let's find it because I too forget. Here we go. So we're going to use this one. Let me write it down. So it's going to be AF equals AI, which represents your initial amount, which I believe is $10. And then it's going to be always 100%. Now it says it pays you an annually 0.5%. So that is plus 0.5%. Raise it to the T. And then so you just fill in your blanks. And then so let's figure out this. And then what we're going to do is subtract it, whatever this is amount subtracted by 10,000 and divided by uh $15. And then that'll give us your hours. So let's do AF. So AI stands for initial amount, which is 10,000. 100 plus the 0.5 is 4 or 5%. And then we got to convert it to decimal, so we're going to move it 2 places to left. So to round 2, so that'd be 0.0145. And then we're going to raise it to the 5. And then that's going to equal to 10 to 7.03. So then what we're going to do is subtract that from 10,000. So that's going to be 10,000 to 7 minus 10,000 all over 15 hours. And this will give us your amount. So when you put that in, uh, right, that that's 15, it's about 15 hours. 15. So let's just round it to the nearest whole hour. So it would be C, 15 hours. Okay, so what you need to know on this problem is you need to know this formula. So AI represents your initial value. So ours was 10,000. And then it's an increase. So it's always 100%. And then it's either a plus or minus. If it's we did a plus because it's an increase of 0.45%, right? And then raise to T. So 100 plus 0.45 is 100. It's 145% and then convert it to decimal. So that would be 0.0145. And then you raise it to your time, which is 5, and you get this amount. Question 2, solve the following quadratic inequality. So, yeah, let's do this one. So it's already to the zero, so that's fine. So what I'm gonna do is so we only care about the negative sign, and you'll see what I mean. So this is related to the test point method. So if you need a little refresher on test point method, there is a video on that on the supplementary video. So yeah, if this problem doesn't do the trick, then go ahead and check out the test point method on my supplementary video. Okay, so what I'm going to do is now solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. So you get minus parentheses x minus 3 squared is less than equal to negative 8. Then what you're going to do is get rid of this minus by dividing both sides by negative 1. So you get x minus 3 squared, and then you have to flip the sign. So it's going to be greater than equal to 8, right? Because you divide by a negative, and then you take the square root of both sides. So you get x minus 3 greater than equal to square root of 8. Now we can simplify square root of 8. It's going to be plus or minus, and then the square root of 8, that's 2 times 4, and 2 and 2, right? And then you circle pairs of 2 because you look at this invisible number, there's invisible 2, right? If there's no number, there's invisible 2, and then you circle pairs of 2 that are prime numbers. So it's going to be 2 radical 2, and then we're going to add 3 to both sides. So you're going to get x is greater than equal to positive 2 radical 2 plus 3, and then it's going to be x is oh, I see. Okay, never mind. Do not worry. What I'm doing is solving for x, so don't worry about the symbol. Just I'm solving for x. Sorry. So for right now, so after I've so okay. So first you got to figure out um if it has a zero on the left right side. If it isn't going zero, then what you do is look at the sign. Our sign is less than equal to, so that means we only care about the negative sign, and you'll see what I mean. Then what you want to do is solve for x. So what you want to forget about the symbol, just solve for x. So yeah, so this should be equal, equal, equal. So you're gonna get two x values, two positive 2 radical 2, and then negative 2 radical 2 plus 3. Okay, so when you put it on a number line, it's gonna look like this. So here's 2 radical 2 plus 3. This is negative 2 radical 3 plus 3. So you have 1, 2, and then further right. 3 regions we got to test, right? The left, the middle, and then the right. And then what we're going to do is put it back into your inequality. So you can put it here. Okay, so you kind of have to test the region of this. What is this number? This is a natural number. What is negative 2 radical 3 plus 3? It's negative 0.46. And then what about this number? What is 2 radical 2 plus 3? That's 5.8. So let's test the left side. What is the number less than negative 0.40? You could do -1, -2. I don't know. Let's do -2. So go back to the inequality and then figure out where replace x with -2. So it's a minus, and then it's -2 minus 3 squared plus 8. Okay. Um, let's see. So -2 minus 3 is -5 squared minus plus 8. -5 squared is 25. And you have a minus, so that's -25 plus 8. So that's -17. Okay. I don't care about the number itself. I only care about the symbol. So it's a minus, so you're going to put a minus. And then I need to test the number between region 2, between these two numbers. So um, maybe I could do, I don't know, 1. What's the number between -0.40 and 5.8? You could do 0, you could do 1. Let's plug in. Yeah, let's plug in 1. So wherever you see an x, plug in 1. So it's going to be -3 squared plus 8. 1 minus 3 is -2 squared plus 8. So -2 squared is 4. -2 squared is 4, and the other minus that's -4 plus 8, which is +4. Don't care about the number, just the sign, so it's a positive. And then region 3, I need to take a number greater than 5.8, so I could do 6 or 7. I don't know, I'll do 7. 7 minus 3 is 4. So that's 4 squared is 16. So you have -16. -16 plus 8, which is -8. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is figure out the symbol so it's less than or equal to. So I only care about the negative sign. So I'm going to only care about region 1 and region 3. Okay, so how do I express region 1 as an interval notation? It's the same thing as x is less than or equal to -2 radical 3 plus 3. I think it's this one. And then how can I express region 3? It's also the same thing as x is greater than or equal to 3 plus 2 radical 2. So yeah, letter A. Okay, so that is test point method. So if you need another video how to do this, check out the supplementary on test point. So yeah, it can be a little bit tricky first. So what I did was uh, you got to make sure the left side is 0. Then you look at the symbol. If it's less than or equal to, you only care about the negative. If it's greater than or equal to, you only care about the positive. And then you go ahead and solve your critical values by setting this to 0, solving for x, and then put it on the number line, and then put it into your f of x. and then pick a region, pick a number between region one, two, and three. Um, we don't care about the number itself, we only care about the set. So yeah, that's how I do that. Question three, find the y-intercept of this function. So how do you find the y-intercept? You simply plug in zero into the function. Zero plus two is two squared. Zero is negative nine. Zero minus five is negative five. So two squared is four. This is negative nine. This is negative five. So you have a y-intercept, find the y-intercept. Wait a minute. How come I don't see it? Did I do a mistake? Okay, hold on. So you have x plus two, x squared minus nine. It's fine. So if I plug in zero into the function, zero plus two is two, zero squared is negative, so that's negative nine. Zero minus five is negative five. Two times negative nine, is negative five. 90. There we go. So my y-intercept is 0, comma 90, or it's just 90. Which expression below is equivalent to cosine 5x minus 9 times cosine 3x minus 5? So this is a special identity. It is simplified as, get my notes. Correct. So this right here can also be expressed as this. Uh, this is related to this. Cosine of A times cosine of B is to 1/2 of cosine of A plus B plus cosine minus B. So what's my A? So it's going to be, let's fill in blank. So my A is 5x minus 9, and my B is 3x. So A is 5x minus 9 plus B, which is 3x plus 11. And then it's going to be A, which is 5x minus 9 minus B, which is 3x. Okay, so when you simplify this, you get 1/2 of cosine. And that's what I get. I think it's D, right? It's going to be 1/2 cosine of 4 parentheses 2x minus y plus cosine 2 to 6x plus 1. There you go. That is D. Question 5, write this set of decimals in increasing order. Okay, so this one, it's not too, you don't even need a calculator. You can see that they went from smallest to largest. So what is my smallest? It's either 4.09 or 4.069. Um, it's going to be 4.009, and then it's going to be 4.069, and then it's going to be 4.7112, and then it's going to be 4.810. Question 6, find cosine and tan inverse of negative one. So what you want to do with these problems is you always want to start in the inner parentheses and make your way to the left. So what you want to do is figure out what is tan inverse of negative one. Oops. So what is tan inverse of negative one? So if we recall, the tan inverse graph is you can only use, I believe, pi over 2 and negative pi over 2. So basically quadrant 1 and quadrant 4. That is, I think that is the domain or range of the tan inverse, but it's not, you can't use all of it. You can't use 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can only use quadrant 1, quadrant 4, or pi over 2 or negative pi over 2. So I know it's related to pi over 4 because the coordinate of pi over 4 is radical 2 over 2, comma radical 2 over 2, right? And if you take the tangent, it's basically radical 2 over 2 over radical 2 over 2, which is 1. But I'm going to have to use negative pi over 2 because um, the reason why is because it's the only one that will give me a tangent negative 1. I believe negative pi over 2 has an x coordinate radical 2 over 2 and a y coordinate negative radical 2 over 2, right? So, yeah. So I'm going to use negative pi over 2. So you're going to replace this right here with negative pi over 2. Then what we got to do is figure out what are the cosine of negative pi over 2. So go back to this angle. What is the cosine of negative pi 2? Well, it's just the x coordinate, so it's going to be positive 2, 2. Okay, letter Z. So over here, you start on the inner parentheses and make your way to the left. Question 7, if a rectangular room measures 4 meters in length, 3 meters in width, and 2 meters in height, what is the volume in cubic centimeters? So we have to convert this to, uh, let's convert everything to centimeters first, because everything is in meters. But you do know the volume is basically length times width times height. So let's convert it to centimeters. So what is the relationship between meters and centimeters. So 1 meter is 100 centimeters. Double check. Yes, 1 meter is exactly 100 centimeters. So, 4 meters is going to be for 1 meter, it was 100 centimeters. So that is 14 is 400 centimeters. So it's going to be 400 by width, which is 300, and then to put it all together, you get 400 times 300 times 2. So that is going to be 24 with um, six, 6 zeros. Question 8, a researcher is analyzing the impact of educational level and income levels. Participants in the study are categorized into 3 groups based on the highest level of education completed. High school diploma, bachelor's degrees, master's are higher. What type of variable is the highest level of education in the study? I believe it's going to be, I don't, that's a good question. I think it's categorical. So why is it categor? It's yeah, D. Why is it categorical? The reason why it's since categorical variables represents categories or groups and can take the values that are labels or names. So in this case, the variable represents distinct education categories rather than natural order or ranking. Since yeah, it is categorical because it's basically anything with some kind of ranking. That's how I remember this. So yeah, it's D. Question 9. The following graph shows the distance of a bird from its nest at various moments in time. Based on the graph, what best characterizes the bird's motion? So on the x you have the time, and the y you have distance from nest. So yeah, so look at it very carefully. So at the four, what is it? The time in I think it's in minutes. Uh yeah, it would be X time would be on, and then on the Y would be the distance. Uh, yeah. Um, what do you think? I would say on the X-axis it would be time, and then on the Y it's distance. I think they are going to return to the nest and fly away. Yeah, it's there you are definitely returning to the nest and flying away. So it has like a V shape. So as you can see, as the time increases, the distance decreases, right? As time increases, the distance uh, gets small, right? Decreases. And then as decrease, the distance increase. So yeah, they're definitely returning to the nest and flying away. Question nine, a farmer reports the number of eggs produced by each chicken per flock. What type of variable would the number of eggs produced by each chicken? So a farmer reports the number of eggs produced by each chicken in her flock. What type of variable would the number of eggs produced by each chicken be? I would say discrete. The reason why is because the number of eggs produced by each chicken would be a whole number. A discrete variable is basically a discrete variable is one that can be only taken on a specific distinct values, whole numbers in this case. So yeah, it's going to be indiscrete. It's one. Yeah, so discrete. Because yeah, discrete value is one that can only be taken in specific distinct values, whole numbers, and so anything that's related to numbers is discrete. Okay, question 11, given the set of data points below, what best describes the relationship between values of X and Y? I don't think there's like a relationship. It's all scattered. If it was, yeah, there's no relationship. I mean, if it was positive to the right, it would either be directly proportional inverse. If it was completely horizontal, it would be constant. But since it's all scattered everywhere, I'm going to say no relationship. Okay, now let's do some actual algebra. So question 12, simplify the expression. We have 2x cubed y cubed all over y raised to the second power. So when you raise, for example, if you have x3 raised to the second power, it's really x to the sixth because when you raise, you multiply. And then what you before I do that, I would always simplify the inner parentheses. So yeah. Is there anything you could do in the inner parentheses? Yes, you can simplify the y's. You have a y cube, whoops, over y1, and then y cube over y1 is y2. So it's going to be 2x squared, and then y cube over y1 is y1, and then we're going to raise it to the second power. So let's raise everything to the second power, so it's going to be 2 squared. So yeah, you raise, you multiply. So this has a equal 1, so 1 times 2 is 2. And then 2 times 3 is 4, and then y2. So when you simplify this, 2 squared is 4x4 y squared. Do I see my answer? No, because they didn't simplify it. Oh, well, so you have 2x squared y cubed over y1. So let me simplify that. So it's 2x squared y3 over y1 is y2. And then we're going to square that. So that's going to be 4x4 y4. Oh, I thought it was going to be, it's not C, because this has to be, oh, here we are, it's B. 4x4, y4. Okay, yeah, so what I did was I simplified the y, so y3 over y1, you're subtracting, so that's y2. And then you're going to square that, so that's x4, y4. So I got B. 14. Which expression below represents the following function translated to the right 3 units and upwards 5? Okay, so to the right, 3 is a horizontal shift, and it's horizontal. It's always like tricky because it's always the opposite. So how do I represent 3 units to the right? It would be parentheses x minus 3 square, and then upwards of 5 unit. So if it didn't have this 4, it would just be a plus 5. But because you have a 4, you have to add this 5. So what's 4 plus 5? 9. So it's going to be D. What measure of center influence is most by extreme values in data set? What measure of center is influenced most by the extreme values in data set? So imagine you had like an outlier. That's what they're saying. What if you had an outlier? What affects the most? What will change the most? The mean, the median, the mode, or the range? Wouldn't it be the mean? I'm going to say the average because it's definitely, for example, if you had 6, 8, 9, I don't know, 15, 17, and then so if you took that mean, the average, it would be some kind of number. But if you had an outlier like 100, that definitely is going to change your mean, right? I mean, your median won't change too much. Your mode, no. Your range, yes, but not as much as the mean. Yes, yes, it's definitely the mean. If there are extreme values in the data set, it will have a significant on the mean, potentially skewing it away from the center of the data. 15. A store tracked the number of items sold per day over 2 weeks. The data shows what are the mode. So mode is basically the number that occurs most often. So you have 12, 15, 20, 12, 18, 15, 20, 12, 15, 20, 12, 18, 20, 15, 20. So what number occurs the most often? So I'm gonna say 20 because I did this one already. But how many times does 20 appear? One, two, three, four. That's the most of any other repeat number, so it's 20. So the mode is the number that occurs the most often. 16. Find the roots of the quadratic. So what do they mean by roots? It means set y to 0, solve for x. That's what I'm going to do. And then what I'm going to do next is divide everything by 3. So it's going to be x squared minus x -36 divided by 3 is -12. And then just factor this x, x. What two numbers multiply -12 and that gives a -1, 4 and 3, -4. So when you solve for x, you get 4 and -3. So that is B. 17, a bag contains 4 red marbles, 3 blue marbles, and 2 green marbles. If a marble is randomly selected from the bag, what is the probability of selecting a blue marble? Okay, this is not a hard probability problem. So on probability, it's the total outcome on the bottom, and then on top, it's the desire. So it can probability questions can get a bit tricky, especially if they use the word and or, but this one's not too bad. So what is the total outcomes? We have 4 reds, 3 blues, 2 greens. What is that? 4, 6, 7, 7. Six. And then what your desire is, what is probability selected? So blue is 3. So if you reduce this by 3, this is 5. So your probability is 1/3. Question 18. A teacher wants to represent the scores of her students on a recent math test. Which of the following would be the most appropriate representation of the data? Is it A, scatter plot, B, histogram, C, box plot, or D, pie chart? Want to represent the scores of her students on a recent math test. Which of the following would be the most appropriate representation? I would say, I don't think it would be a scatter plot. I don't think it's a box plot, and I don't think it's a pie chart. I think it's a histogram. Does the histogram tell you how much, like, percentage, um, for example, how much people scored like 70% or 80%, 90s, right? So I'm gonna say histogram. So histogram looks like this, right? So it's a little, right? So yeah, this would be probably the best one. Because you can figure out who scored like 70%, who scored 80, who scored 90, who scored 95 to 100, right? So yeah, it's definitely table below categorize quality of individual bricks in a shipment to a construction shop. According to the data, what is the probability that a particular brick is fractured or the keyword or is decolored? So discolored. So whenever I hear the word or, I know it's an automatic addition. So on the bottom, is your desired, your total outcome. So how many, what's our total amount? Uh, 2 plus 5 plus 1 plus 24 plus 88. That was 120. And then on the top, what is your, so how much are fractured? There's one. And then how much are discolored? There's 24. So 1 plus 24 is 25. And that is going to be fractured is 1. And then discolored is 24. Hold on. Did I don't think I put, so on the bottom, it should be your total outcome. So it's 2, 5, 1, 24. It's 120, and then fractured is 1, and then discolored is 24, so it's 25. So I get 0.2, so I believe you have to times 500, and you get 28.3. So if you round it to the nearest two, two places, it would be 29%. 20. A student is taking the multiple choice test with 10 questions, each with four answer choices. If the student guesses randomly on each question, what is the probability the student answers exactly seven questions correctly? Okay. Well, so in this one, when we're talking about prob you would use the binomial probability formula. So yeah, you have to use this formula. And n factorial, you've probably seen this before, n factorial times n minus x factorial times x factorial. So my n is 10, so it's 10 factorial, and then it's going to be uh it's going to be 10 minus my x is 7 factorial, and then my x is 7. Okay, so you can use a calculator. If you want to do it by hand, this would be 10 factorial. 10 minus 7 is 8, 9, 10. That's 3 factorial. I have 7 factorial. So what I would do is simply, what does a factorial mean? So for example, if you had 5 factorial, that's the same thing as 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, right? Now let's do the 10 factorial. So 10 factorial would be 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times. Now I'm going to do the bottom, but I'm not going to do 3 factorial yet. I'm going to do 7 factorial. So 7 factorial is 7 times 6 times 5 times 1. As you can see, these all cancel out. And then you're left with 3 factorial, which is really 3 times 2 times 1. So put it all together, you get 10 times 9 times 8, which is 720. And then on the bottom, it's 3 times 2 is 6, 720, 6, it's 120. What did I do wrong? Well, when you put this in calculator, I think yeah, it should be 1 over 84. The other way you could have done this is you can fill it up like this. You can also say 10 plus 7 times 0.25 times 7 times 0.75, and you get 1 over 84. Okay, this one, 21. We have to solve, so there's two sides, the left and the right. So what you could do is just cross multiply. Before I do that, I'm going to check if I can factor anything out. X squared plus 3. I don't think so. So go ahead and just press cross multiply. So it's going to be x squared plus 3 times x plus 7 equals x plus 5 squared plus 21. Okay, let's see what happens. Then I'm going to follow this out. It's going to be x cubed. This is going to be 21x. This is going to be 5x squared. This is going to be 5 times 21. 105. It's cubed. This is going to be 7x. This is going to be 3x. This is going to be 2. Okay, so now what you got to do is get one side 0 and then, uh, yeah, let's get one side 0. So let's move everything to the left. I think it's wise to move everything to the left. So subtract x cubed, 5x squared. Subtract 21x. Subtract 1. Cancel, cancel, cancel. So this cancels. 7x squared minus 5x squared is 2 squared. 3 minus 21 is 2. 21 minus 5 is 8. And then I guess what you could do is, can we divide everything by 2? I think so. Yeah, let's do that. Let's divide everything by 2. So get x squared. So negative 9x. 84 divided by 2 is negative 42. Factor this out. Does this factor nicely? I think so. No. Uh, two numbers multiply negative 42 and adding goes to negative 9. Impossible. So you're gonna have to use the quadratic. So the quadratic is x equals opposite of b. So what is my a? My a is 1. My b is negative 9. My c is negative 2. So opposite of b is 9 plus or minus root. B squared is 81 minus 4 times a, which is 1. C is negative 4, 2, all to it. Get square root 249 all over 2. And Square root 49, let's simplify that if we can. The two numbers multiply 249, is that a bit possible? Oh, no, it's prime. I see my answer. If you divide each term by two, that's going to be 9 2 plus or minus square root of 249 over 2. So C. 22. So 22, we got to simplify this. It looks a little bit off. You have 2x squared plus 20 over 3x plus 1 all over 4x. You have 9 half x squared plus 15x minus 27 over 4 all over 9x. So it's really weird. What I would do is I would just get, I would just find the LCD. What is the LCD? If you look at the bottom, you have 4x and 9x. So my LCD is going to be 36x, right? 4 and 9 is 36. See how uh 4 can be broken down as 2 and 2, and then 9 can be broken down as 3 and 3. They're both different bases, so you just put it all together. So my LCD is 36. So I'm gonna multiply top and bottom by, so if that's the case, I'm gonna multiply this by 4, and then I'm gonna multiply this by 9. So on the bottom, it's just gonna be 36x. And then over here, this is getting 9 times 2 is 18 square. And then 9 divided by 3 is 3. 9 divided by 9 divided by 3 is 3 times it by 20. That is 60x. Times it by 20. And then 9 times 1 is 9. And here, we're going to multiply this by 4. So what's what is 4 times 9 half x squared? Well, 4 divided by 2 is 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, times by 9, that's 18. Be careful, there's a minus up. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, divided by, times by 9 is 18, so that's 18x squared. And 4 times 15 is 60. 4 times 27 over 4, that's negative 27. Yeah, so as you can see that it got rid of the fraction on the numerator. That's good. So then you're going to just FOIL this minus, so it's going to be negative 18x squared minus 16x, and then 2 negatives becomes positive, so that's 27. So this cancels, and then you're left with 9 plus 27, which is 36 over 36x. And as you can see, yeah, 36 cancels with x. So it's B. Uh, do this one. Social scientist wants to represent the relationship between income levels and happiness scores in a population, which of the following would be the most appropriate representation of the data? Is it A, bubble chart, B, tree map, C, stat bar graph, or D, box plot? It would be bubble chart. It's my idea. Why is it a bubble chart? So it is bubble chart. The reason why it's because since a bubble chart is used to display three dimensions of data. So as you can see, there is a bubble chart. Uh, this is one, and then the center is where they both have in common, and then there's the right. So as long as you have three ideas, that's related to a bubble chart. So it's going to be A. Okay, so next one. A data set has a mean of 50 and a standard deviation of 5. If all data points in the data sets are multiplied by 2, what happens to standard deviation? Yeah, a data set has a mean of 50, standard deviation of 5. If all data points in the data sets are multiplied by 2, what happens to the mean and standard deviation? So it would be, I'm going to say B. The mean doubles and standard deviation stays the same. So if everything's multiplied by 2, this means that the mean is also multiplied by 2. That is constant. So however, since the spread of the data remains the same, standard deviation does not change. So the mean doubles, but the standard deviation stays the same. Okay? So that's why I said B. Here, which graph represents a circle? So the good news is it is in the form of a circle. So the standard form is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So my center is going to be at 3, comma, -3. And then my radius is not 9. My radius is 3. So it's going to be which one has a center of 3, comma, -3 and a radius of 3. This one might be at 3, comma, -3, to 3, to 3. Is it E? No, C. Yeah, I think it's D. Here's 3, -3, 3 to the right, 3 to the left, up, down. So say D. This one, write the following mixed number as an improper fraction. So here you have a mix. How do we make that into improper simple? You just multiply 2 by 5, just 10, and then add the numerator, just 11, and then the denominator stays the same. So it's 11 fifths. See, this one, the basket has two types of fruits, of apples and oranges. There are two types of There are two apples for every five oranges. If there are 35 oranges in this basket, how many apples are there? So this is definitely a proportion. Hold on. I'm gonna stop right here. I'm gonna make, yeah, let's stop right here and then I'm gonna make the second part.